From Our Savior's Atonement Lutheran Church on Bennett Avenue in the Heights of New York City, welcome to Inwood Artworks on Air, where we showcase the writers, filmmakers, musicians, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home here in Upper Manhattan. I'm Aaron Sims.
And I'm Jonathan Bell.
And this is Live and Local. It's our podcast dedicated to showcasing the musicians of Upper Manhattan. We talk with them about what they do, and best of all, listen to them perform live in the studio. Who is joining us today, Jonathan?
Aaron, today we welcome guitarist Juanma Trujillo and violist Leonór Falcon. Leonór was classically trained in her native Venezuela at the Emil Friedman Conservatory and the Mozarteum de Caracas. She went on to study performance at the Conservatory of Geneva and jazz at Queens College, which brought her to New York City in 2010. Her bold collaborations with ensembles like Willie Colon's band, the Sirius Quartet, O Quartetto, Camellia Meza, and the Nectar Orchestra, and Sarah Bernstein's Veer Quartet have made her familiar to jazz, avant-garde, classical, and Latin music fans across New York City. Her solo album, Imagamondo, was released in 2017. Juanma Trujillo made his name as a guitarist playing with noted Venezuelan musicians like Domingo and Llamas and Gustavo Medina, in and around his hometown of Caracas. In 2014, Juanma came to New York City after 9 years on the Los Angeles music scene. And since then, he's broken and explored exciting new musical ground here in New York with artists like Francisco Mela, Mimi Jones, Nick Grinder, Rebecca Sullivan, and of course, Leonór Falcon. His compositions have been called, quote, challenging, clear, cohesive, and profound, end quote. We are very excited to hear what Leonór and Juanma have in store for us today, Aaron, on Live and Local.
And here they are, Juanma Trujillo and Leonór Falcon. Well, that was just delightful. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you both here.
So good to
Thank
see
you,
you,
Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell us, please, what you just played for us.
So the first tune is a tune I wrote. It's called Para Emilio, which means for Emilio. And Emilio is actually our unborn child, which is right here. So it's sort of like a lullaby / free improvisation included in it. You know, it's just a melody that we just play it different ways every time, and we try to make it mellow as a lullaby and fun as a, I don't know, like a children's tune or something.
Mm.
And then the second tune is Juanma's tune. Do you want to introduce your song?
The tune still has a working title, but I guess originally it was named Demosthenes because we have a neighbor whose name is that. Yeah, and yeah, she's really nice, you know. So like, I thought, oh, let me write her a tune, you know. So yeah, and it's like a slow, very slow bossa nova type of tune, you know. That I just kind of wanted to have like this really slow but very lush harmonies kind of shifting. And, yeah.
Well, I think in no particular order,
Yeah.
just because the word you used, lush, I thought is, I was thinking when I was hearing that piece, I was like, I was thinking of what adjectives I'm going to use for your, who you know, that harmonic palette. And I think lush is a great one. I was kind of thinking it's a fresh sound without being, it doesn't come, there are plenty of dissonances, but it doesn't sound dissonance. And that could be because of a lot of the suspended and
Yeah.
quality to it. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the harmonies like never really resolved. There's not really a tonal center on it, and the other thing is like I think in my mind Brazilian music has that quality where like some of the harmonies are like incredibly sophisticated, and whenever there's a chord, if it's even if it's the most simple chord, they add every color note that's possible there. So
every extension possible.
So like I wanted to like kind of like pick chords that would allow me to have all those colors on the guitar, you know. So
Aaron, I'm going to have to get a little wonky just for a second, little detour. Why is it? I've always wanted to, this is a question I've had, and then I've never had the opportunity to ask someone who I think might have something to say about it. What is it about bossa nova that allows there to be such what ought to be jarring chord changes, and they don't sound that way? And I was like thinking, is it something to do partly with the rhythm? So because sometimes when just even with like Jovine or something, he'll do things that are kind of, and he sort of occupies a space between like popular and more, more complex things. But he does have instances, even in his very popular tunes, where it's like, whoa. But it doesn't sound like whoa. It sounds like a seamless thing. And I'm like, what is it about bossa nova?
I think to me, and I don't know what you have to say, but I think that to me it's all about the vibe that it kind of like, there's a very specific aesthetic to bossa nova that's very kind of subdued, that allows for like great complexity just kind of like tucked underneath.
Right.
You know, like, and it's also because there's always like really nice melodies, so like there's all this harmonic support underneath, like always it's always kind of snuck behind a really beautiful melody that anybody can relate to, you know.
Connects.
I was thinking about the same, like how the melodies are, it might be a little too technical, but maybe like the melody is very long usually, and then the chords are changing, but those the notes on the melody work on different chords, so each
Common
time
tones.
so like they change to all these chords, but that melody still works, so the color changes a lot, and it gives that impression that it's like very like complex. I don't know. That's
So
first thing came to my mind. I don't know.
Well, first of all, it's just great to hear the combination of a violin and guitar. It's absolutely beautiful. You guys like complement each other so well. I wanted you to get a chance maybe to respond to what I said earlier before we started talking on air. It now makes total sense that your piece is a lullaby. And it was so soothing just to hear, you come in when you do with your chord. It's very sensitive, and but that melody, like I said, at least part of it reminded me of a piece by Bach, the Intervals. And I happen to be a music director at a church, and I sometimes play the piece I mentioned as a way to settle people down. And I thought that was interesting because that's what a lullaby is.
Good, we're connected. Yeah. I mean, I did not think about Bach at all, but I guess I practice Bach, so maybe it's somewhere in my brain that there's those interval combinations. I don't know, but that's an interesting impression. Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. We should just say
Thank you.
If it's not transparent by now, Juanma and Leonór are a couple, and a handsome one at that. If you can hear it through the radio, folks. So building off of that, it's clear collaboration is vital to you both, not only as people, obviously as musicians. Musically, of course, we saw it just a moments ago. So can you talk a little bit about what collaboration means to you in your daily lives? Because it obviously informs you. I mean, you are musicians. It is what you do. It is who you are. Given that importance, it's been awfully isolating lately this past year, particularly your work, Juanma, with the variety of musicians you played with. Both of you, though, really seriously. You're Leonór, in many different groups. So how has this past year been for you artistically? Because obviously playing, you've been able to play with each other, which is fantastic, but you've been fairly limited in not only just collaborating on stage in the moments of creating the music, but the actual creation of music.
Do you have something that you want?
I don't know. You go first.
Well,
see, they're collaborating already, folks.
Yeah. No, I it's definitely, I definitely miss it. I've been fortunate enough that a couple of opportunities have come up throughout the year for me to do concerts with people and do recordings. I think it's a good time for musicians to record if they can record in a space that allows for like some degree of safety in health wise. And just kind of document your work that way. And it's we as musicians we always want to like present our work to an audience, but I think that this year we also learned a great deal about like the sacrifice it takes for us to like take care of each other. So I think we needed to learn that because like we as this modern life progresses, we don't seem to learn very much the idea that we need to live our lives not only for what it's good for us. So I think it, in some weird way, I don't want to say that COVID was like a blessing or anything, because like it's been horrible. But
we just lost all our listeners. Thanks a lot.
No, but like I do want to say that it's in some ways it's a lesson for us to learn that like we do have to make some sacrifices sometimes to ensure the well-being of other people, so that's, like, it's been hard, but I've accepted it too. So I guess that's what I've said.
And accepting it, God knows how long it's going to be till people, it's not about the vaccine so much, it's more about people feeling safe to gather, right? And be together. And also, you said, be coming together. As a presenter and producer of events, I'm very cognizant of that. I'm also very cognizant of the lifespan of virtual concerts and things like that. Do you feel like it's going to be here to stay past COVID? I mean, nothing obviously replaces live, being together in the same room. But is there a value for virtual post-COVID, do you believe?
Well, what I think is about the virtual concerts is certainly not the same as going to see somebody that's really an accomplished musician or band played in live, because it's just like the energy is not the same, even if the concert is like really well produced, and that's one of the things that like kind of makes it or break it in the virtual world. I think, like, if the venue or whoever is organizing the concert has the production capability to really make a polished kind of like presentation of the music, that makes a big difference. So I think the bad thing about that is that not everyone has access to be able to do something like that. The good thing about that is that I already seen some of my friends, musician friends and stuff, like getting really good at branching out to like getting better at production and stuff, and getting some of these things together to stream their own concerts. And in the lives of musicians, where like the avenues for income are kind of like getting slimmer by the day, like, I think it could be a possibility, but it's not for me to say how valuable it is or not. I think it's just something that is,
And if you can take advantage of it, how do you feel, Leonór?
I mean, no, I agree with what Juan is saying. I was thinking, that virtual concert situation might be here to stay for a long time. I think if there is not enough support for venues that are the venues where the music is presented. So especially like important jazz venues in Manhattan are struggling so much to stay open, because the rent is super high and they're not allowed to bring people in. So they are doing a lot of concert streams, but it's not the same. They don't earn the same, obviously. So I'm feeling like, if those places start to close, like, definitely they're gonna need to have a space at least to stream. So that's gonna be, that's the way, like, all these jazz clubs are doing virtual streaming almost every night, and they're doing a great effort.
From their venue?
Right?
Like, a few of them.
Didn't you do a show at Smalls recently?
I was there on Wednesday, and what they did is basically, I think that they turned the whole place into a non-profit,
right?
And that way they've been able to keep the place afloat and then also pay the musicians. And I think the astute thing about that was that now people who is able to fund concerts, they can do so because they are non-profit.
Right.
So our concert was sponsored by and this guy that's like he's the owner of a record label called Jojo Record, and basically I think his record label is not a jazz record label, but like he loves jazz and he wanted to support the venue. So I don't think he intended to even fund or a specific concert. He just supported the venue because he goes there often and stuff. So
Just to add one thing that
Yeah.
that I just thought at a very, in my life, parochial level with my piano students.
Yeah.
I've had a few Zoom, like everyone has probably by now, Zoom piano concerts for my students. Most of them are young. And one benefit that I can see of it continuing in the future is that extended family from everyone was watching from Washington, Wisconsin, New Mexico, in some cases overseas. And it wouldn't have even occurred to me to do something like that. And so, I mean, there are these little silver linings. And in that case, we're having people who normally had never seen their nephew play before, and now they are. And I can kind of see like a venue just maybe continuing to, even if it can be an extra revenue stream, even if it's modest, if you're bringing in viewers to the Village Vanguard in Nebraska, you know, that's a kind of a cool thing. That
Definitely.
Definitely.
I think it's very important to realize that there's benefits to both, and one doesn't have to. It's my personal opinion is it's not either or.
That's right.
It's
it can be
but it's interesting.
Combination of
That's right.
both
That's
things,
right. Because everything it says is incredibly valid. And just so you know, there is a Save Our Stages Act in Congress for small venues. We do mean like venues like Juanma was talking about, like Smalls, La Poisson Rouge, places that are venues to house concerts, and it's incredibly important for those to be reserved, because as you may know, Inwood, Washington Heights, we have no venues, and so when the downtown venues go away, we're really in trouble. You know,
Aaron's working hard to fix that.
But we are endeavoring to do that, as you both know that very much. As
thank you for your work. It's really important.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Getting for a second back to music really quickly, there are pieces I really wanted to touch on, at least briefly, just improvisation generally, and your influences, and when it comes to like culturally speaking, when it comes to improvisation, and of course there is the American jazz piece to that, which, you know, sometimes gets mistaken as the genesis of improvisation. You know, in the sort of the common imagination, there's that mistake making. And of course, I assume the American jazz musician has had its influence on what it means to you to improvise, but I'm sure you have other roots that you're drawing from in that. So I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah, go first. Okay. We're democratic here. So influences. So in my personal case, I grew up in a household with a lot of music, because my father is a musician and so is his wife. But my dad was born here, so he plays guitar as well, and he plays a lot of rock and jazz, and so that's what I heard a lot at home. And then on my mom's side, there's like a lot of Italians, so there was a lot of opera and a lot of Verdi and a lot of Donizetti and like all this.
Great.
And my mom loves what is this called in English? Oh my God. Not before Baroque, you know, like Renaissance music, Baroque music, like this
Gregorian chant.
Like
medieval.
She has like
early
the whole
music.
collection, early music.
Early
That's
music.
it's like she has like a huge collection of like Jordi Savall records and like all this stuff. So I grew up listening to all these different things, and some Venezuelan music, but not really like the traditional stuff. So I'm very like wary of people like, oh, you're Venezuelan, so you probably play, you know, this joropo, where it's like, wait a minute, I have to practice it. Like it's not like it's like super in me, you know. So yeah, since I was in the conservatory and I was doing classical music, because that's the school, that's how it is, right? Like academia, violin, conservatory technique. But I wanted to improvise. I was always fascinated with musicians that could improvise, and I always
Which
tried.
Musicians would those be, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I really like, for example, my dad had some Turtle Island string quartet records. I don't know if you know this quartet.
I don't.
they're an amazing like quartet. They're based in the West Coast, and they play jazz with a string quartet, and they're really, really good. They're amazing. So he had all these records that I would listen to, and I didn't know anybody in Venezuela that could play like that. So I was like, wow, I want to do that. How do I do this stuff? And Jean-Luc Ponty and Grappelli and Urbaniak and all this, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, like all this stuff, 70s stuff. I love music from the 60s and 70s. I think it's my dad's fault because that's the music that he plays. So Aretha Franklin and like all this soul stuff.
It's good.
It's amazing. It's like I hear that
don't
stuff.
Apologize.
It's like, wow, this is part of me. And then I'm like, wait, it's not really part of me, but whatever. Like I love it, So those were like my earlier influences, and then I came to New York and I discovered that free improvisation was a thing that you could do. I went to listen to the Carl Berger Improvisers Orchestra at the Jazz Gallery years ago, and I was like, wow, like I want to do this, like, and I talked to him somehow through a friend, and I got in, and that was like love at first sight for me. It's like, okay, this is my thing. So I really, really enjoy that way of improvising. And
So building off that question really quickly, is that has the pandemic allowed you to find new ways to improvise, reflecting on old forms, so to speak, in the 60s and 70s, but also too is like you've been together for so long in many different ways. Have you found yourself, like, has this time allowed you to, this incubation time, I'm making it up, but have you found any discoveries for each other?
It's been, it's some people in the community has been doing, they were doing like a concert series online, and we did a few of those, and actually Juanma did a record. And I recorded his string section, so like the woman orchestra here, like I did all the parts, and that was really cool that you were like dictating what you wanted, and like I was just trying to.
I made a record. I guess I should have brought it to you guys. I can go get it and come back. But
we'll wait. Go ahead.
But I made a record. It's called, stupidly, I called it Folklore, and then 2 months later, Taylor Swift came out with a record called Folklore.
So you're saying they get confused all the time. Everyone thinks
they don't
you have
get
the number
confused.
one hit on the pop charts.
They don't get confused all the time. It's like just absolutely crush any chance
she copied your name.
It's obviously she has good taste in music, and so she's been listening to you for how long, I'm sure.
Some Folklore came about because I had a concert from. There's a group of musicians that have an artist collective in Brooklyn. They're called Polyfold Music Arts Collective, and they run a music series that down there. And they invited me to perform, and my concert was set up to be in April, but then they had to cancel. So basically, what they said to all the people that was involved in that particular concert was, hey guys, how about we help you guys out with producing a piece of music that we can do instead for the, like that you can record in any way. And like they were very open about how to go about it, like we could either do, record ourselves or do like a audio-visual thing or something. And, since I moved to New York, I've been working a lot in production as well. And I work at a studio in Brooklyn and stuff. And I have recording equipment at home and stuff. So I've kind of figure out a way that I could make the piece that I had written for that concert work as like remote recording. So I just kind of like the thing that I did was kind of to adjust some of the parameters of how we were going to play and just uh, find a way to communicate to the musicians how to make it work, you know. And yeah, I based on what they sent me, I kind of assembled the whole thing, and it's really strange recording, but I love it, and it just ends up being a document of this particular time.
I think it's
And
been like a good thing. Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah,
Like overall, that
yeah,
we had all this stuff canceled, whatever. But staying home, we've been able to write more music. You've been
yeah,
able to write more music. I've been able to write more music.
yeah.
We've recorded a lot at home, and this concert series also we did a bunch of like
Hmm. Yeah, for
creative
sure.
stuff, and then you did another record with Mela, and I did another record.
Yeah,
A couple of records.
Which, by the way, we had a guy named, I was saying earlier, Miguel Tejada, who's, do you know Miguel?
no, I don't think I know.
How long ago was he here?
Last month.
Okay, he just performs a lot with Francisco.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's a much easier question for you two. What are you going to be playing for us next?
Oh, okay. So next is gonna be a piece of Leonór that Leonór just made a record that we need to just get done, finish mixing and all this stuff. So it's one of the pieces from that album. It's called The Monks, and she mentioned that she loves early music and Jordi Sabal and all this kind of music. So it's kind of based out of that like early modal music type of thing. And then the next piece is a piece that I wrote that again doesn't have a title, really. And
Well, you can name it after me. I'm your friend too. Or Jonathan.
It's called.
He's your new friend.
It's like Aaron and Jonathan in F major.
A nice ring
I'll
to
take
that.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. So once again, Juanma Trujillo and Leonór Falcon.
That was incredible, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you give our listeners a place where they can hear more of more amazing tracks like this?
Yeah. Well, Leonor has her website.
Yeah.
Leon-
Yeah. I have my website. You have your website.
Yeah.
And then we have a record label that also has a website, and that goes into Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So my website is leonorfalcon.com, and yours is
JuanmaTrujillo.com. Yeah. So it's
and and then the label is called Falcon Gumba. So Falcon like the bird, and then GUMBA.
This is your label, clearly.
This is our
okay.
label, clearly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's falcongumba.com, and then if you can also find it on Bandcamp, you find all the records we've put out on there.
And there's links to the label too on either of our websites. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Leonor, do you have the name of your new album yet?
It's Imagamondo Volume 2.
Okay.
Not very original. Like the first one. Number 2.
Hey, why quit a good thing, right?
Right?
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep it
It's
going.
the same band, so
Well, thank you both so
Thank you.
much.
No,
thank you so
Anna.
much,
Thank you, John.
both of
Yeah.
you. for
Absolutely.
having us.
We'll have those links up on our Inwood Artworks website for on air as soon as we can when this episode comes out. So very much thanks to them, these wonderful people, our local musicians, Juanma Trujillo and Leonór Falcon, for joining us today on this live and local episode of Inwood Artworks on air. And this is where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all kinds who make their home here in what we affectionately call Upstate Manhattan. If you have a moment, please show us some love right now by rating and reviewing this podcast on Apple Podcasts. It really does help. Big thanks to our Savior's Atonement here for hosting us, and to heightsites.com for our local uptown promotional support. Be sure to follow us also on social media wherever you can at Inwood Artworks to keep up with all we do, including the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Al Fresco, pop-up art galleries, live performances, and more. And you can support On Air and all our programming by making a tax-free donation at inwoodartworks.nyc/donate. Inwood Artworks On Air is made possible with funding from the NYC and Company Foundation, with support from Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer and the NISCA Electronic Media and Film Grant Program, in partnership with Wave Farm Media Arts Assistance Fund, and the support of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims.
I'm Jonathan Bell.
For Inwood Artworks On Air.